Cocoon Spawn Girls, Chapter 36. I awaken to Clarice and King throwing open the curtains to the room. Light pours in through the balcony door, its soft, warm light guiding me into the waking world. "You ready to get on the move?" King asks me, looking down at my squinting, tired eyes. I held out my hand, asking for 5 more minutes with all 5 fingers. King gave me a high five, meeting my open hand. I laughed and dropped back down into bed, closing my eyes. "Come on, Soph. We've got a ton of walking to do if we want to make it there while anyone is still there."
"I think she can have another few minutes, and we'll still be fine," Clarice defended. "She did so much running, and who knows what, digging that hole yesterday. She's more than earned a few extra minutes of rest." What would I be without such a good friend? Truly my greatest ally in these terrible fights for my very life. I'd surely perish if I didn't receive these extra few minutes. "How about we make something for her, and it'll be ready by the time she's awake?" Clarice suggested to King.
King nodded. "We are in a hotel. It's gotta be pancakes or waffles." He seemed to take this very seriously. He threw a puppet hand towards me, pointing at where I was lying. "We shall return after we find the hotel breakfast makers. You just rest easy." Clarice and King took off practically giggling as they left, darting out of the room and down the hall as they began their hunt. I closed my eyes and actually fell asleep again somehow. Next thing I knew, they'd returned with plates at plenty. They just burst back in, shouting to me the good news. "Pancakes, Soph!" Before I knew it, Clarice had leapt into the bed beside me, barely balancing the plates from falling over onto the sheets.
"Hope you're hungry," she smiled.
"We've saved the best ones for you," King added in, pushing forward the plates on top of the pile. I picked it up and sat it in my lap as I sat up against the headboard of the bed. I brought my hands to my chin and did the sign for "thank you" towards them.
"Don't sweat it. Dig in,"
Clarice smiled back. It made me happy she understood the sign. I reached for where I figured silverware would be, just to realize they'd only brought me a plate with a pancake. I looked over at Clarice and King, but they were both face full of pancake already. Just eating it up with their hands, totally getting whipped cream all over themselves. It was even stranger watching King miming eating. I mean, all he really was doing was tearing pancake bits up in his puppet mouth and letting them drop onto the bed. I didn't really have any other choice but to join them. I wasn't going to walk all the way downstairs just to find a fork. I picked up my pancake and began carefully biting off little pieces. They did a pretty good job at making these. They were really good. I was sort of expecting them to be a little overdone or super cakey in the center, but they showed me. We enjoyed our pancakes until there were none left, ignoring all the bits across the bed from King. Clarice took my plate from me once I was done with it, and added it to her pile in the kitchen sink.
"You ready to get a move on now?"
Clarice held a hand out towards me. I nodded and met her hand, climbing off the bed before remembering I need new clothes. I couldn't just keep walking around in a bathrobe after all. The bag I had packed when we left the dorm still had some of my jumper skirts and blouses, so I can wear those for the time being. But I'm really starting to want to get some new clothes. A girl can't possibly keep wearing the same sort of outfit every day, now can she? Despite my feelings of tiredness with the outfit, I still put it on for the time being. Maybe on the way to our next stop we could steal some clothes from an abandoned store. Once I was properly ready to go, I bagged up the rest of my remaining items and secured them. Clarice had long since had her stuff ready to go. I don't think she ever unpacked anything here. I met her at the hotel room door, and together we exited back into the halls, making our way outside. Stepping out into the morning sun felt fantastic, the warmth of its light just brushing softly against me. Is this the sort of warmth found in every spawn den? Can something so scary sounding truly be so bad if the light still shines so brightly here? How decayed are the towns and cities? The name conjures up images of ruins and being overrun with beasts. But perhaps like ours, it's simply quiet nature returning to a more beast-filled habitat. Clarice stopped pulling out the dry blood map, positioning us against where the castle we hunted should be. She pointed in a direction down the road, and we took off. We had only walked for a few minutes before Clarice brought back up her words from last night.
"So suppose now is as good as any time to begin my tale," she proposed. "Any objections to hearing us, out?"
I shook my head. I didn't just not mind it. I really, really want to hear it.
"Okay,"
she smiled at me, then turning her head forward again, watching where she was going.
"I suppose we have to begin about 3.5 years ago, back before I had become a magical girl," she began. "Back in those days, I lived in a city, one whose name eludes me now. I lived there with my parents, and I think I was as happy as one could be as far as things to complain about. I think I must have not been too different than I am now. A bit timid around new people, but I'd say pretty good company once you get to know me. I was probably a shut-in back then as well, keeping to myself and not always putting in the most effort to make new friends. It would be on a day where I was once again locked away in my room that I had come to meet King for the very first time.
She paused to gauge my face for any reaction. I just nodded along, interested to see where she was going with this.
My city, on that day, was being attacked by a large spawn, as many cities were at the time. Magical girls hadn't become so widely spread out that they could respond within an hour, so our city was on our own for the time being. There must have been an evacuation notice of some kind once the spawn began attacking buildings and knocking them over. But if there had been, I didn't hear it locked away in my room. I didn't know where my parents were during this time. Had they evacuated without me? Or had they been out at the time? It didn't matter, I suppose. The spawn continued destruction in more heavily populated areas, and like in most cases when a large spawn appears, smaller ones soon appeared in its trail. The sort attacked my city were winged spawn with insect-like appearances. They spread out and began eating anyone or anything that they could get their many arms on, dragging them off into the air. One of those insects arrived in my neighborhood, and the scent of my human blood attracted it straight to my house.
She chuckled slightly to herself, as if amused by it as she relived the memory.
That spawn might not have been the giant class of size, but it was still double my size, and pretty ugly too. It tore right through the house, bursting through a wall, and not stopping until it was coming out the other side. By that point, I was aware of what was going on. Not that there was anything I could do at the time. The roof began to cave in on the upstairs where I had been, rubble collapsing over me, covering me. I lay underneath it, sure that as exposed as I was now, and as injured as I was, that I was surely going to die there. Blood was dripping from my head. I could barely wipe it away with how my arms were positioned to stay able to see. It just felt so hopeless.
And that's when I showed up, King interjected. Clarice rolled her eyes.
We are literally about to get to that part, so hold your horses.
King scoffed at her, but allowed her to continue on with her tale.
Where was I? Right, under the rubble, bleeding out all over, waiting for large insects to dig me out and eat me. Or maybe it would have laid eggs inside me? Who knows? The point is, everything was hopeless as I lay there, convinced of my own brutal fate. That's when I heard a voice call out to me. It seemed to come from above, while also being right beside me at the same time. It asked me if I wanted to live, which of course I said yes to. The voice lectured on and on about its place in the universe, and what an honor it was to become its servant, and...
Hey! King yelled. I said a ton of really important stuff there. Don't just gloss right over it. It's super relevant to what I thought you wanted Sophia to learn as well. Clarice scoffed at him, returning the act.
Whatever. Go ahead and fill in what you said. I don't even remember what it was.
Gladly, King smirked. He cleared his non-existent throat and began. Dear Earthchild, I can grant you the power to survive, the power to live, but it comes at the cost of living for a new purpose. If you accept my help, it will be in an agreement to become the avatar of the King of all Pulsars. You will forfeit any right to your old life, and instead enter into a new one under my guidance. I am not asking for only your soul, but your body as well. All of you shall enter into a covenant with me. You shall end up dissolving, and we shall become one. One body, one soul, one destiny. Do you understand, and are you willing to enter into this covenant pact? And like I said, I agreed to it immediately. Clarice nodded, remembering his lengthy words now. After that, my blood began to feel hot, like a boiling sensation from within me. It was really uncomfortable, truly not something I'd ever like to experience again. I know now it's the feeling of accelerated cocoon sickness. Clarice shivered a little, thinking back on it. So all of a sudden, the rubble above me is torn off, and I'm face to face with that disgusting insect spawn. It lunges mandibles towards me, and by instinct I thrust a rock at its head. The rock misses and passes by. I'm sure I'm dead when all of a sudden the insect's head jerks back, as if yanked by something. I'm able to crawl to my feet and put some distance between us, but I can't see the instinct has begun fighting with something I can't see. It's as if it's fighting with the air itself. I then notice rubble bits flying off the ground, crashing towards the insect.
It squeals and shrieks with every piece of rubble that hits it. I barely am able to gracefully fall off the side of the second-story floor before the house itself begins to tear apart and come crashing at the insect. I sat there on the lawn, just watching as everything began to be pulled towards it, or rather, the rock that I had thrown. I couldn't move. I was so frozen in confusion, just watching as it was crushed to death by my house, all packing together into a ball shape. It didn't stop, though. More and more area was beginning to be drawn in. Whatever I had done, I didn't know how to make it stop. Soon I was running down the road away from my house, only looking back to meet with the large orb growing and growing in size. I felt so tired, so weak, and then I noticed my entire body had turned a charcoal black texture, which seemed to be my body itself and not anything coating it. I felt sleepy, so tired, and the voice told me I should lie down somewhere safe and everything would be okay. I did what I was told, lying down next to the front door of a house a couple blocks away. I just lay there looking at the orb in the distance. I could make out the shapes of more insects being drawn in by the smell of blood, only to be torn from the air and smushed into the ball of objects. I closed my eyes for only a moment, but that would be the last time I ever saw things as my previous self. I entered into a sudden cocoon state, and wouldn't awaken again until I'd been found by MGI and taken away to one of their facilities.
I was taken aback by Clarice's insane story. I had a million questions I wanted to ask. King reached out to her prior to becoming a girl? And how did she use her gravity ability before becoming a girl? It didn't make any sense to me.
Inside the cocoon, I met King better, and some things became clearer.
Clarice continued.
That day, under the rubble, it hadn't been our first time speaking. I hadn't realized it, but we had spoken many times inside my dreams. It might sound crazy, but for some reason King had been watching me long before he gave me a chance to form a covenant. I now know that he was just searching out candidates for what he required, but it was odd I wasn't allowed to remember any of that until we'd already joined together.
Clarice raised her hand upward into the sky, pointing towards the ever-looming silhouette of a giant ship floating above Earth.
King is like them. He's from a different galaxy out there in the expanse of space. Although he's different as well, he's not an alien after all. It's more complicated than that.
She scratches at her head, thinking for a moment.
It's like this. In space, there are no walls. Just an ever-expansive area for which you can see for light years and light years. Just like how from here at night you can see planets, even though they're so far away. Well, turns out the planets can see us too. Well, if you didn't know, a pulsar is a type of planet. Well, actually a star, not a planet. A pulsating star that emits electromagnetic radiation. And one of those types of stars was King. But as a star, he's much less powerful than a planet, which is why he had to form a covenant rather than being able to give his power to a selected contractor. That's what the case is for the planets, you see.
Connections begin to form in my head as she continues.
That's what's up with Aurelia and Bianca. They both have contracts with the moon and the sun respectively. There are planets so close to us, they can't help holding an interest in what's going on here on Earth. That is to say, what's going on with the slow alien invasion that we're facing from the ship up there. From what King has told me, this is a historic first, actually. A battle fought on an undisturbed planet in which everything is fought via proxies without ever needing to get anyone's hands actually dirty. The battle was supposed to only be the planet's involved chosen worshippers and fighters versus the hordes of spawn created from the general population of the natives. However, MGI and the American government somehow engineered a way to force spawn cocoons to become magical girls, blessed with powers usually only found among the proxies. It was unexpected to all parties involved, but hadn't ruined their game. Now instead of one-on-one, there's a three-way fight for victory over this planet. The Fallen, Magical Girls, and the Spawn. Or rather, the Celestials, MGI, and the Red Hoyle. These are the powers whose war we're a part of.
There was a silence as we continued walking, allowing for it all to soak in. I knew about the ship in the sky, and I understood when we met the moon worshipper that the other planets offered some sort of power. But still I was left dumbfounded. The scale at which the whole thing existed left me feeling like a small speck. What is there to truly do against someone who's being backed by an actual planet?
You're thinking about what can be done against them, aren't you? Clarice sighed. Forget that way of thinking. It's pointless to even imagine we're going out of our way to do anything against them. Our priorities are our lives and the lives of whoever we end up wanting to save. She smiled towards me. I'm not telling you we can't do some good after all. It's just that there shouldn't be a future where we try to fight Celestials in space. We can still kick Aurelia's butt and any other worshipper or avatar we like. In the grand scheme, there isn't anything we can really do to make a Celestial care about us. We're just a natural piece of the larger game they're playing. I nod, but I feel beyond conflicted with all this new info. Just when I was really starting to feel like I was finding my place in the hierarchy of the world, I get smacked in the face with all this new info. Clarice sighed, looking nervously at my face's expression. I quickly put on a smile in an effort to calm her worries. Too much for you, kid? King asked. I shake my head. I can handle this. I just might need a minute. We end up walking in silence for a bit while my mind leaps through a million scenarios and hypotheticals. I'm gonna be okay. There's nothing I need to be afraid of. And yet, I find my eyes wandering upwards towards the sky, knowing there are cosmic beings who might just be looking back at me. After some time, Clarice speaks up again. I'm here for you. I just want you to